Thanks, Coach Lennon. Thank everybody for being here today. Be real brief with our special teams. First of all, things that we like. I think when you look at our team last year, we were at or near the top of our league in returns, whether it was punt returns or kickoff returns. I think we had 9 kickoff returns for over 40 yards. Those are big plays for us. So we return all of our return specialists. Steve Struther, Muku, Stephen McKinney, those are guys that are, have proven that they can be big play guys for us. So we're excited about those guys. Plus, we have some younger guys, I think, that are coming in that we've recruited that were redshirt last year or as true freshmen that we think can be dynamic type return guys for us. So that's something that we're excited about here moving forward. Is where a lot of the experience comes back in our special teams. Next thing that we're excited about, our punt team improved last year from the year before. We put a new scheme in. It was good for us. Austin Puchalowski got better. He had a year underneath his belt. He matured. We expect him to even get better here this fall as we move forward. But we feel like we have a bigger group of guys, both in our coverage units and in on our blocking schemes, a bigger group of guys to pick from now, as we've Coach talked about it. Try to increase the talent of our team, especially when you start talking about linebackers and safeties and wide receivers. Those are all guys that have to help you on special teams as well. So those are things that we feel here moving into fall. Moving into fall should be strengths for us. We can kind of pick up where we left off and try to use those guys to be able to help us in close games. Concerns that we have, number one thing is our kicker. We feel like we need to get better in both phases. What I mean by that is, we need a guy that can increase his range and his accuracy. Plus, we got to have a guy that can put the ball in the end zone, especially with the new rule that goes into effect this fall. So that'll be a big evaluation for us fall. There's a lot of competition. Obviously, Jackson did the majority of the kicking for us last year. We talked about field goals and extra points. Chris Adams did the kickoff specialist, I guess if you would call it. Did all the kickoff duties for us. And then we bring Austin Johnson into that. We feel like he's a pretty talented kid that those guys will definitely be battling out here in the fall, and it's a point of emphasis for us. We need to get better at that position. And then we also feel like, we talk a lot about what Coach talked about, that we were in a lot of close games last year. We need to make momentum swinging plays on special teams. I think that can be the difference for us. We had one block kick, I think, last year. We need to create turnovers, that type of thing. So that'll be the emphasis moving into fall. We need to do a good job, once again, with our competitive drills of evaluating guys. We'll have some new guys that, will be in their first eligibility here this fall as far as with the Salukis. And I think we have a bigger pool of talent there, especially special teams talent, guys that can run down the field and make an open field tackle or make an open field block. So we're excited about that. But questions that you guys have?
How much do you think the new rules are going to limit your opportunities in the kickoff return game?
We're concerned about it. I think it'll be less. That was a big part for us last year. Like I said, we had 9 returns for over 40 yards last year. I think Steve Struther was a all-conference guy for us. Stephen McKinney was really dynamic on punt returns as well. So you're definitely, and with the you take a knee now, you get it at the 25. So you catch the ball 2 yards deep. You got to go 27 yards just to get out to where they're going to give you the ball. So it'll be a little bit different. It'll be interesting to see, just how many less kickoff returns we have. But I definitely think it'll change that part of the game.
Struther averaged almost 27. Will you still let him take them out, try to get those extra 2 yards?
We've talked about it. I think there's, our base rule, Todd, is that if you're 2 yards deep in the end zone, take a knee on it. But I think you adjust those rules the better player you have back there. So we'll have some leeway there for Steve and also for Muku. Muku didn't have as many opportunities, but he made some big plays as well back there, returning the kick for us.
Now, also punt return, you can't jump over a player, I guess, this year. Does that improve how do you do that punt rush? How do you adjust your punt rush that way?
That really doesn't affect us as much. There's not as many leapers, guys trying to jump a shield that there has been in the past. I think there was probably one team that tried to do that to us this year. We're not a big jump team as far as trying to jump over the top of the shield. Most people have learned now the shield punt has kind of evolved now where you don't have the punter as close to the shield back there, so it's harder to do that. So that's not probably as big of a rule as obviously the kickoff rule. The halo rule, that type of stuff now becomes a little bit more of a factor in games than the leaping rule over a shield would. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. And just kind of wrap things up, and I'll open up to any general questions. I hope when you talk to the players, I hope when you listen to the coaches talk, you recognize that we do have an edge. It's one of those where we know we got to get better. That's been our approach all off season, going through the summer. We aren't satisfied with where we're at. There's things that we can do that'll allow us the opportunity to get better, but the bottom line is doing it in the ball game. So, that's where our approach going into pre-fall. We're cautiously optimistic. We feel we have the potential to be the type of team that we think we can, but until we prove it, that'll all be up for speculation. So, that's the objective in front of us right now is we got to prove that we're better than 7th in the conference. Questions?
I guess I'll go first, Dale. I'd love to see you go 11-0 or whatever it is, but do you think if you go 7-4, do you think 7 wins with the strength of the league would be good enough to get you in the playoffs? That's
speculation. That it's just this time of year, it's tough to go on. They're expanding, but 7-4 wasn't good enough for Illinois State to get in. But then again, it depends on who you win, who you beat, and who you lose to. So, that's 7-4 could be pretty impressive if you win the right games. But, it's just speculation right now.
You put a lot of emphasis in the offseason on doing the little things right and with the players. And how do you feel like the team embodies that right now?
Again, mentally, a positive resource for us has been Coach McLeod. He spends every day with them. Us as coaches, we can't, we're very limited in our contact that we can have with the team. So, but all the reports that I've received, the players stopping in to visit, the feedback I'm getting is very encouraging. I think our players are realistic. I think our players are at a point where they want to step up and prove something. So, and that's the attitude that you can hang your hat on. So that's what we'll have that attitude going through pre-fall, and hopefully it sustains.
Do you feel like this team is more vocal leaders? I mean, from what I'm hearing from a lot of the guys, they're some of them are getting really vocal about this is how it's going to be.
Vocal's not the right word. We have players now that'll get in each other's face. That's a whole different thing. It's one thing to be a rah-rah, let's go get them type, but it's another thing to be that guy that's going to get in your teammate's face and tell you, hey, you're not doing your load here, pick it up. So that's what we need within the team. We need guys that aren't afraid to get in their teammate's face and tell them to pick it up. And from what I've been hearing, I've been pleased with what I've heard.
How would you compare the front 7 you got this year to some that you had in the past?
Always tough until they perform. I like the potential. I look at the 3 guys up front, very athletic. And the thing too, my philosophy with development of players, experience is huge. The amount of improvement that you should have from one year to the next should be pretty significant. You should be a better player just because you are a senior, just because you have a couple years of playing under your belt. So therefore, I'm hoping we're going to be seeing the benefit of that, especially with the front 7, where you're looking at a pretty senior-dominated group with that unit. So, and with what Coach Schweigert can do with our defensive schemes, we shore up the secondary like we hope we can. That front 7 is going to be fun to watch.
What do you like about how your schedule sets up this year?
Every schedule's challenging. I like the fact that we have our 3 non-conference games right in a row at the very beginning, so it doesn't really break up your schedule. You know, I like having a very challenging first game, which we will have against Eastern Illinois. You know, your division up game that you play, you know, you want to feel good about your chances going into that game, and you know, we'll know more after our Eastern Illinois game where we're at, but you know, I think we're going to have an opportunity there, and then coming home finally with Southeast Missouri, you know, I'm just hoping that we can have that positive start on the season to really make us feel good about who we are, and then we get in for the conference schedule, which, you know, this conference is amazing right now from 1 to 10. I mean, you seriously could have any one of the 10 teams be a contender. It's that legitimate within the league, and you know, South Dakota coming in, they're good. You know, they're going to win games. They're going to give teams issues. So the league's just gotten tougher.
Do you like where your bye week is?
Well, you never know if you like it or not until now. If we're on a roll, I love it. You know, if we're playing good and we're right in the stretch, we're in the hunt, we got the perfect spot for the bye. You know, if we're banged up, well, you kind of like to have that bye that next week, whenever that would be. But for right now, I'd rather get on a roll and keep playing for a while. So it's not a bad bye.
How much preparation can you actually do now without the season started for all those teams? Or do you just have to wait till you get game tapes from this year to prepare for them?
Well, we've been doing that through the summer, offensively, defensively. You come up any morning, any afternoon, our staff is in their rooms, they're watching last year's films, they're doing their game plans, they're evaluating personnel, you know, so we have a feel for what they're capable of doing. But when the season hits, you almost have to throw a lot of that stuff out because things change and players get hurt and circumstance happens, and therefore you got to be ready to adapt. But you know, you have your initial game plan, then you get to game week, then you kind of modify it and hopefully have it good to go by Saturday.
Yeah, the seniors this year had so much success in the front half of their career. What does it mean to them now that they've had some adversity?
Well, I think too that's where that edge should be present, and you know, just not settling for anything less than their full commitment, and you know, that's what I'm looking for from that senior group that we brought in with our first recruiting class. They've been through a lot of ups and downs. A lot of them have been through a lot of personal trials and tribulations just to get here. So I'm hoping that this year is very special to them and that they want to make something of it.
What makes you think your red zone offense could be better this year?
Can I use Coach Schweigert's line? No, what you need with the red zone offense, you just have to, I mean, confidence. It's confidence. And that's the one thing that I think if you go on our offensive, hang out in the offensive huddle, I mean, you can see, are we a confident team or are we kind of hoping? And from what I saw in the spring, you know, that confidence factor can be there. Our quarterback has to be cocky. We get into the red zone, there has to be an attitude. We're scoring, we're in. There can be no doubt in his mind that they're not going to score. And same thing with defense. Defense, all you need, we could have been a very good red zone defense if we get, let's say we get 2 turnovers. Force 2 turnovers in the red zone. All of a sudden now you're not a bad red zone defense. So I mean, there's just a fine line between success and failure, and those are the things that we got to be able to capitalize on. And when you're inside the 20, you got to put points on the board. Offensively, we missed 4 field goals inside the red zone. You know, you got to put points on the board. You put points on the board, it's a whole different game plan now going down into the 4th quarter on what you need to do and have to do. So all that will be part of the process.
Now, just what's the benefit moving Wilson from right to left? What's the biggest benefit there?
He's our best tackle. He's our best guy. Protect the blind side of the. You ever see that movie? Yeah. But that's the big reason there, just to make sure that the throwing arm is, you know, is that he doesn't have somebody coming off his backside.